for you to take over then. Please do so.
Shall we crack on then?
Watch.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Put the gallery on.
Well, Master, I think this is a very lovely idea, actually. I like these two varieties very much, and I suspect those people who have been tasting their wines already will think so.
Sure.
Also.
You to ourselves. Why don't they got this list of the others?
They are both what we would now call aromatics, which is a term coined in the New World. And they're both very interesting in their own way. Viognier, let's start with that. And my Viognier actually is a wine I bought from the co-op at £8, which is really very nice. But perhaps the point about Viognier is that it built its reputation in an area called Condrieu in the northern Rhone Valley. And this was a tiny, tiny production. And the wine was of superlative quality. The thing about Viognier also is there you have volcanic soil, which is particularly suited to it. But there you have a good, quite a hot temperature. You have perfect soil. It does actually withstand drought very well, but you get remarkably low yields. Now, with very low yields, the quality is superb. Because it was so good, it began to be planted elsewhere, particularly further south in France, and now you find it pretty well all over the world, often blended with other varieties. But here I think I should say that with Viognier, whereas it's superlative when the yields are low, you can, if you're careful, squeeze out much bigger yields, and the quality then differs amazingly. Now, Condrieu would probably cost you 30, 35, 40 pounds, I would guess, a bottle. My wine from the co-op would cost, as I say, 8. So you can see it's a vast variation in price range, and also, I have to say, in quality. It is actually one of the most fashionable varieties around at the moment. Everybody's looking for new things all the time. Now, it's not new, of course, but it's actually new on the supermarket shelves, I would suggest. So there we have it. Now, my next wine is another aromatic, and I've chosen a Gewurztraminer, and you won't be surprised perhaps to hear that I've chosen mine from Alsace. I chose it from growers called Becker, who I've been dealing with since 1972, now of course through Davies actually, but I was originally brought it over to this country. Alsace is probably the very home of Gewurztraminer. This is a variety that I'll go back to Viognier, so sorry. What I forgot to say, the acidity is pretty low. Okay, going back to Alsace, you have a cool climate. You have quite a rich fruit. The yields are low, but the sugar levels are quite high. It's highly aromatic. And in all the time I've been in the wine trade, which goes back to the early 1960s, people have said, oh, we don't like Gewurztraminer, but it's amazing. Everybody seems to drink it. It's not fashionable in the sense it's very aromatic, very spicy, if you like, and so on. But it can be, it's grown in Austria, Germany, and particularly in Alsace. It is actually grown in Australia, South America, New Zealand, and elsewhere. But in these hotter climates, it will what I would call slightly flabby. And I think it's not a great success, and it hasn't really taken off. It's there, but because you lack the acidity, I think it hasn't really got the sort of commercial drive that it could have. And I say mine comes from Becker, who come from Zellenberg in Alsace, one of the top growers to my mind, a lovely family and all the rest of it. So cheers, folks. I tasted my Viognier yesterday. I didn't normally drink 2 bottles in the evening. And I've tasted the Gewurztraminer now. A lovely, rich, strong colour. Lovely aromas. I wish you could smell them, but of course you've all got your own. So I hope that gives a little bit of a picture, and I can flesh that out if anybody would like me to.
Martin, can I just say cheers?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
and a delight for you to talk us through some of these wines.
It would be nice if we were all together, wouldn't it? But this is a very next best thing.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I'm a great Gewurztraminer fan and have been for many years. And I went to my cellar in anticipation of this evening, and horror of horrors, I've drunk the last of my Gewurztraminer. So the best I could do was a Riesling
Trimbar.
of a decent maker of a pretty reasonable year. If everybody can see it, can they see the year?
Yeah.
It's when I was born.
2001.
2001. 2001. Right. I look much older than I actually am, but
quite.
Well, if you like, if we start off and we'll talk about Viognier from everybody first, and I'll start off for you. I got my Viognier. It's the Estevez. It's from Chile, so it thrives there in the warmth of the Chilean climate. It's quite pale, actually. It's really rather nice, quite soft, but it's got sort of quite a rich sort of apricotty, peachy sort of flavour to it, which is really rather nice.
The thing I should also, which I forgot to say actually, that Viognier is always best drunk young because the acidity is not very strong.
Yeah.
And the aromas, because if it's fresh and young, it's lovely.
Yes.
When the aromas start to mature, or the fruit starts to mature, it loses that bounce, that liveliness, that vitality.
Yeah.
And that, I think, makes it vastly less attractive.
Well, this is a 2020 Chilean from Aldi at $5.49.
Oh, gosh.
And I have to say, I actually did buy it about 3 weeks ago, and I find it so drinkable, I've in fact bought some more.
Well done.
Because Aldi actually will deliver. I don't know if you knew that. They will deliver wine for you.
Well done.
That was a very nice find. They've got quite a few others as well that are very drinkable, but this is very, very pleasant. I do like the Viognier grape variety. Philip, are you on Gewurz or you got Viognier?
I've actually got one of each.
Right. Do you want to talk about the Viognier?
Certainly. Mine is also Chilean. It's that called Louis Philippe Edwards.
We've got the same one.
Is that the same one?
We have,
Yeah.
yes.
Chilean 2020.
That's right.
From Waitrose.
Yeah.
From Waitrose.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
And how much?
Well, it was £9, but it was on offer for £7.
It's a very nice wine. Like it very much.
Philip,
That's a sensible sort of price, isn't it, really? If you get much less, that's a good price to pay, probably.
I have to say, Paul, can I ask you, did you buy your Aldi one recently? Because I bought some a couple of months ago and I haven't been able to buy any more.
It got delivered this week.
Oh, right. Well, I'll have to have a go then.
Or was it
really good.
It might have been Friday.
Oh, okay. Because I enjoyed that, but they sold out very quickly.
It's the Estevez. It's not.
Yes, that's right.
It's not the Pierre Jorant French Viognier.
No. It's a sort of blue label with a funny little
right.
gold thing on. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was very good. Yeah. Oh, good. I'll try again.
Next person with Viognier. Edgar?
Yes. Mine is also from Aldi, and it is the Pierre Jorant.
Oh, right, yes.
The edition limitée, which was on offer, and it cost the vast price of £4.49. I think they had a sort of thin-end offer on, but it is a dry, pale, golden Viognier with scents of apricot, fresh peaches, and subtle aromas of acacia flowers, lilies, and of fresh bananas.
Beautifully read.
Yes, I've got my little bit of paper here.
That's
Fresh and well balanced, rounded and syrupy on the palate, with a wonderful honeyed finish. And I'd agree with all that. It's actually very tasty. I've not had this one before, but yeah, very good, I'm told, with seafood and asparagus, but of course it's not in season. So it's had to go with the seafood.
Excellent. Who's next on Viognier?
We've got a Viognier. Ours came from South Australia,
Right.
2019, and that was £7 in Morrison's.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was on reduced from £9, but it's really quite nice. It does taste quite fruity. Apricots.
Lovely.
Quite nice. Very drinkable.
Next person on Viognier?
Yes, we can. Oh,
yes, go on,
please, sir.
Michael.
No. I'm sure somebody's got something more exciting to say than we have.
Go on, Michael. Do yours, and then we'll go.
Okay. Well, our Viognier is, would you believe, I think probably from the same supplier as yours, Paul. So ours is the Estevez Viognier.
Yes, that's it.
Is that the one?
Yes, it is.
It's this one here, if everybody can see it.
That's it.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we're delighted with it. It's fresh and it's not too heavy or intrusive. It would go with a number of different things. I think it would complement many different things to eat. So we're delighted. Cheers to you all.
Cheers.
Cheers. What vintage is it, Michael?
It's the 2021. Oh no, the 2020. Yeah. No, it's extremely young, but it's very pleasant. I mean, it's no money really. It was what was it, 5 or 6 quid? So, yeah, I mean, ridiculously cheap, but it's not. Yeah, it's really nice. So
Barbara,
and thank you very much.
Barbara, you've got a Viognier?
I have. It's Abbott's and Daubney. It's French. It was from Majestic. It was on offer. It was £9.99 down to £7.99, and this one says it's peaches, apricots, and violets, and you can certainly taste that sweetness. It's very, very pleasant.
Good, excellent.
Where from in France, Barbara?
It doesn't really say.
What is the appellation? Under Pays d'Oc or something? Or?
Yes, it does. Pays d'Oc.
Yeah. So that's a very growing area for Viognier. It's quite hot down there, but they have managed to, to get quite decent yield, but still quite nice quality as well. And I didn't say, actually, my wine too is this famous apricots, peaches, lychees, soft fruits. Those are which are very attractive, really.
Yes, really nice.
Shall I go next?
Yes, please do, Ray.
Yeah, we've also got a Viognier from the Pays d'Oc, but we got this one from Sainsbury's on offer at £7 a bottle. It's a 2019 Viognier. Frankly, probably not the best Viognier I've ever had, because there's a slightly, the sulphur is coming through a little bit in it, and but it has got that nice fruitiness. I always think of Viognier as being a sort of casual, summer afternoon kind of drink rather than something to have with food. And but it's a pleasant drink. But a question for Martin, because glancing through some of the books that we've got on wines, they actually do suggest, and I don't know whether this was why you put the two together, that Viognier and Gewurztraminer have a possible common ancestor in an old grape variety called Vignanon Blanc, not Sauvignon Blanc, Vignanon Blanc, and suggestion that they both derive from the same original vines from northern Italy.
Well, I didn't know that, but that's very interesting. I mean, grape varieties are fascinating because there's nothing new. Usually one is a clone or an offshoot of another. It is interesting, but I think there are sort of certain similarities. I mean, they're very different flavors, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that's a very interesting comment on it. And I would just love to say that I hope at the end of this, we will all rush off and buy a bottle of Condria, which is a supreme, superlative, beautiful, beautiful wine, where Viognier, we obviously all love Viognier, but it really comes into its best. Okay, it costs 35, 40 quid, but what's the price of a seat at the theatre these days? Anyway,
theatre's closed, so we can have the wine to spare.
Okay, can I go?
Yes, please do, William.
Well, just on that point that Martin was talking about, we've all spoiled ourselves because we can't go to the theatre and do anything else. So we've actually got a rather nice Viognier here. It's not actually from Condrieu, but it's a few hundred meters higher than Condrieu, and it's produced by a domain Georges Vernet. And I think you may know about him, Martin, who I think is quite a name in the Condrieu world, but he can't count this wine as Condrieu, but it is very close to it. It's 2018. It is actually a little bit more expensive than the ones that you're drinking, guys. But my gosh, it's worth it. And it's a beautifully elegant, smooth tasting wine. 2018. It's called Le Pied de Samson. I'm buying my wines from a wine merchant in Wiltshire called Yaps. I don't know if you've ever come across it, but I can thoroughly recommend. If you don't buy from Yaps, go on their website and you learn so much about their wines. They're specialists, particularly in Rhône, Loire, and Languedoc-Roussillon. But we've had a wonderful lockdown period of drinking their cellars. they deliver.
Price, William?
Say again?
What price?
The price. This price is £27.
Okay, well that's
And it's a lovely, 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 lovely drink.
Who's next?
May I go?
Please do, Vincent.
This is a French from the Pays d'Oc, apparently a young winemaker, Laurent Miquel, and it's a taste of apricots, honeysuckle and pear. $9.99 from Waitrose, and it is very pleasant.
Ours is the same maker at £7 in Sainsbury's, so little price differential there.
Yeah, the Waitrose do have the lesser varieties, but I went for $9.99.
Same maker.
David, have you got a Viognier?
Yes, we have a Pays d'Oc 2019 Old Vines, it says. It tastes typically of apricots and the soft fruits that you've all described before. We do have some Condrieu in the cellar that we bought from Berry Brothers, but that's much too good to drink on a Thursday night.
It's always good to drink.
So where did you get what you're drinking from?
We've got this and the Gewurz that we'll be drinking next. We got it from a McNade's, which is a quite a fancy farm shop and wine merchant in Faversham, and we paid $9.99 for it.
Yes. David, your Viognier?
Are you speaking to David Harold?
Yes.
Well, yes. My Viognier is absolutely bursting with fruit. It's absolutely amazing. It's also got quite a lot of length, and the aftertaste is still there. I think you can have it with probably quite flavoursome food. I actually went, we just had our new catalogue from the Wine Society, which I've been a member since I was almost in short trousers. And this one is a bit more expensive. It comes from the Ardèche, which is my memory is it's a very rocky part of the world. And I was going to actually ask Martin whether this has an effect really on the flavour of the wine. Anyhow, it's absolutely beautiful. It's got length to it, and you could have it with quite strongly tasting fruits. And the name of it, as my wife points out, I should be saying it's Cerol, S for sugar, and then EQ, Cerola. In fact, that's right. And
are you able? Sorry, David. Are you able to show us the bottle? Is that
yes,
possible?
No, hopefully. Is that any good? We're coming up.
Yeah. Oh, yes, that's it. Perfect.
That's unusual. Oh, okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And that is lovely. The price of that is £14 odd. It's $14.95. I just happened to be talking to the Wine Society because I was buying something quite different, and they suggested that. And as far as the Gewurztraminer,
we'll do that in a minute, David.
Okay, yeah.
All right, Bill.
Right. I am drinking a Jaboulet Viognier 2018.
My goodness.
Lovely.
Yeah,
grind, not too much, I hope.
We do like to see the name Jaboulet on a label.
Absolutely. Well, it comes from Majestic, and it cost me $8.49 a bottle.
Good Lord.
And I will read you their little piece about it. When this was a wigging, when it's gone, 4,000 bottles sold out in less than a week.
4,000.
It's since become one of our best rated Viogniers ever, brimming with perfumed aromas of peach, pear and citrus, all balanced by a salty minerality. It's a Condrieu double at the snip of the price. Well, there you have it. And it lives up to what I've described. Yes.
Excellent.
Bill, what's the appellation? Can you tell me what the appellation is? Is it a Vin du Pays or?
Oh my God. Well,
it'll say somewhere.
In L'Hermitage.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, Paul Chabonnet is the name of the grower. And
my guess, it probably comes. Jaboulet is a wonderful name, lovely grower in the Rhone Valley. Probably comes from the just outside the Condrieu limited appellation.
10 L'Hermitage. I must look that up.
No, I know 10 L'Hermitage.
That's probably where it's bottled.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. No, be kind to it. Let me look it up.
Do we need to put the oven on?
John, have you got a Viognier? John Hitch?
No, we haven't. I'm afraid we're watching you and all our friends, and we have to admit a bit shyly that we are red wine fans.
Oh right.
Well, we can be red wine fans as well.
If it comes to it, rosé as well, actually.
If nobody else has, when everybody else has finished, I do have a bottle of Viognier.
All right, Master, please go ahead.
Now, I'm a Francophile.
Yeah.
I will spend every holiday that I possibly can in France. It's something to do with the wine. And so therefore I have one of the most expensive Viogniers that I'm drinking that could possibly exist. It's called the Elegant Frog. I wonder why. It's 2019, and it actually, I paid the princely sum of what Martin would turn his nose up at here, of $4.99, but it was reduced from $7.99.
Well done.
It's one which I regularly drink, particularly when it's reduced to $4.99, but it doesn't happen very often. And for those who'd like to know, it's made by a chap who Martin will know, Jean-Claude Mah, who is, no, Martin, shaking your head? You
I don't know, but I mean, there are probably thousands and thousands of growers in.
Yeah, there are, but he does quite a sort of a collective range. And cutting a long story short, right, reading, it comes from the middle of the Aude Valley, and it's bottled in Pézenas, which is one of the sort of cooperative areas in terms of bottling. It has aromas of dried fruit, peach, and floral notes, with a hint of vanilla and a satisfying palate, balanced perfectly between richness and freshness. It's a great wine to drink chilled as an aperitif, or to pair with sushi, curried dishes, or blue cheese. And I have to say, I have been drinking this for a number of years since it arrived in Ocado.
Richard, did you say it was from Ocado?
I did indeed, yes. And whilst Martin would probably somewhat turn his nose up at the price, and I don't blame him, it's a very good drinking wine for very everyday. And I'm afraid to admit that Jane and I perhaps imbibe a little bit more than we ought to. And so we do consume a little bit more than we ought to.
Martha, I never turn my nose up at any price. If the wine is good, the price is almost irrelevant, really. The point is that that's fantastic value, good for you.
It's very good value. It's also, I have to say, this particular bottle and was brought in for the occasion. It's not as good as I would have said that 2018. It lacks a little bit of interest and body and zoom, using a modern expression. It just doesn't quite hit the back of the palate as I would like it to. But
would that be relevant to the weather in those two different vintages?
It could well have been. That 2019 has been not such a good year for some of the fresh wines. But I always try and drink from I mean, this is from the Pays d'Oc, and I'd like to drink the current year if at all possible.
Yeah. Anybody else got to talk about a Viognier? Anne, did you have one? Anne?
Oh, sorry, no.
Have you got a Viognier? No. Bill?
No.
Just wanted to add a, if I can find it, a review I found of Chabolet Viognier, which is indeed in the road, on the road, and it's quite near Contiga. And this is from the Knackered Mothers Wine Club.
Yeah. They're very famous.
They say, love this peachy Viognier from one of the biggest names in the Rhone Valley. Ripe and rind with bags of tropical fruit flavors. It's the kind of white winter was made for. And if you can't find any on the shelf, it's because my mum's bought it all. Sorry. Roast chicken. So there we are.
Paul, can I ask Martin a question? Martin, what do you drink best with, oh, not sorry, the other way around. What do you eat best with Viognier?
Oh, eat best with Viognier. That's a very interesting question. Well, I think because it's a light, delicate, aromatic sort of wine, we talk about peaches and nectarines and all that sort of thing. I would tend to drink something, eat something quite light, actually. I mean, if you want for a main course, it's a very lovely wine as an aperitif to drink on its own, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would drink it with a sort of pâtés or light pâtés or with chicken dishes and that sort of thing. You know, I think it probably goes quite well with smoked, well, perhaps not smoked salmon, that's too strong, really. I mean, I'm not terribly good. I just drink the wine I like with whatever I happen to be eating, to be quite honest. But I suppose I should be more careful about it.
No.
I think I'm with Ray, sitting in the garden in a sunny afternoon.
Yeah, that'll suit me. with the smell of the flowers. And
yes.
Let's look forward to that for next year, all of us.
We have a long
One more
way.
question. One more question for Martin.
Your condria that isn't condria should be drunk quietly with the curtains closed on your own, just loving it.
Yeah.
Do you mean that Alison can't be there?
I'm with Alison, of course.
Oh, no, that's
Thank
what
you.
I said you, the royal you, as a couple.
What do you actually mean by, and also, what did you mean by aromatic wine? Why is it called an aromatic wine? I mean, maybe that's an obvious question.
That's a very good question. I mean, when I joined the wine trade, the word aromatic was never used at all. It was rather sort of coined or brought into favour by the New World. Actually, I think what it means is sort of spicy, pungent, with strong aromas. I mean, a lot of wine has strong aromas, but it's this pungency, this sort of floral quality about it. In the case of Gewurztraminer, the spiciness of it, that gives you an aromatic, a very strong, well, the aroma is a very, very strong signature for the wine that you're tasting.
Very good, thank you.
Does that exhaust Viognier for everybody?
Can I just say that?
Yes, Martin.
Just a quick comment. I'm not a wine expert by any means, and don't drink a lot. But I'm here because it's what Martin has picked as a wine, and it's the bottle I bought from Majestic has been mentioned already. All these wonderful words that you describe your wine, your tasting. I think it's really good. Thank you, Martin, for choosing this wine. I do enjoy it.
I just quickly say that it was Paul, our learned clerk, who made the final decision as to which variety we were going to drink. Yeah, so maybe I egged him on a bit. So Paul made the final decision, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the object is...
But Paul, you actually you entitled this Zoom call as stage 1 or phase 1. What's phase 2?
Well,
I wondered that too.
Well, some years ago I did do a whole series of Taste of Grape, and what we did was we took one grape variety, and we actually on an evening tasted the same grape variety from around the world. And it is quite interesting what happens when you change the climate and the terroir, and what the effect it has by comparison. And
it's also quite interesting what the effect is on you.
And that's one of the things was in coming up with this idea, which I discussed with Martin, is that it gives you all an opportunity to start looking at grape varietals rather than looking at names on labels that you've no idea what it's going to be like till you draw the cork. But if you can start getting your head around the style of a grape variety that you like, then you perhaps have a better idea on what you're going to buy. And I think I would possibly suggest that I'm not a great lover of Sauvignon Blanc, because I often find that in the cooler climates where it's grown, it is too acidic for me. But if you go to the warmer climates where it's grown, like Chilean Sauvignon Blanc, I actually find it much, much more palatable. I don't know if you want to make a comment on that, Martin.
Well, I do. Yes, I do. I mean, I think the best manifestation of Sauvignon is probably Puy Fumé or Sancerre in France. And that really made its name, if you like. But you know, New Zealand has made Sauvignon its own, really, hasn't it? I think, in terms of price-quality ratio.
Yes.
But you know, you're going to get something like 6, 7, sometimes 8 grams per litre of sugar. So I mean, they're not by any means dry. Whereas I love Sancerre, but I think the only other comment I'd make about Sauvignon, it's been flogged to death, really. I mean, there's so much of it about. It's very attractive. Yes. Stimulates the palate, but it's lovely to move on and have something else that isn't Sauvignon, much as I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, shall we move on to the Gewurztraminer then?
Could I just quickly ask?
Yes, Bill.
Garth, was yours the Abbots and Delaunay or the Jaboulet?
Mine was Paul Jaboulet, 2019.
Yeah.
And it was £11 from Majestic.
Right.
Majestic about half an hour ago.
Just in time.
Forward planning then.
Excellent. Excellent.
Mr. Scarce, may I just ask, perchance the glass out of which you are drinking, it looks awfully like one which I know quite well from Royal Briley Crystal. Might it be Royal Briley?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you for being a customer. That's really good.
All right, moving on to the Gewurztraminer then. I got a Gewurztraminer which came from Tesco's, and it's Chilean, and it says it's a bright and intense Gewurztraminer. It's a straw green yellow colour, and it boasts intense and fresh aromas, including floral notes such as rose petals, orange blossom, and light cheese. It is, as I remember, Gewurztraminer, which is one of my favourite drinks on certain occasions. It is very, very palatable. It's $7.50 from Tesco's normally, but with their buy 6, 25% discount, it comes out at £6 a bottle.
Is that a bottle or half a bottle?
No, a bottle.
Oh my God.
£6.
William can't buy anything that inexpensive.
I wish. How much did William pay?
Actually, it does have a bit of a history, actually, because it comes from the Connoisseur vineyards. That's CONOSUR. And the workers travel around the estates on bicycles, tending the vines with natural methods in order to produce the best grapes. And this is part of their what they call their bicicleta wines. They have a whole range of them, which is a tribute to the bicycles that they ride on tending the vines. Bit of a romantic story to it, I suppose. Yes, Martin?
Only just going to add a comment that I'm not sure I made it quite clear, that Gewurztraminer has high sugar content and low acidity. So in hot climates, you're going to have a bit of a problem. So if the difficulty there is you get sugar levels, of course, and probably too much in many cases, but it's getting the acidity levels, which is the skill. And it sounds as if your grower in Chile has brought that trick off, which is quite a trick. Really.
It's very, very palatable. It really is.
And the yields tend to be quite low, but again, like Viognier, you can squeeze yields out of it with various different means.
I find it quite fascinating because it's got a 13.5% volume.
Yeah, mine's the same. Yeah.
So most of the
mine's 13.5% too.
Somebody else with a Gewurz? William, Philip, you said you'd got a Gewurz.
Yes, I've got a Gewurz. It's a South African Gewurz, 2017, 13.5%. It's made by the Latigan family, and they've been making this wine since 1843.
Can't you get a more recent bottle, honestly, to get something that old?
Well, there's a very good reason why I couldn't get a more recent bottle. All the rest have been drunk.
Are you?
But also, I actually got it from the local pub as I was coming home this evening.
Is that the one that's 3 doors away or the one that's 5 doors away?
5 doors away. I said to the landlord who's recently taken the place on,
put the pizza on.
I said, have you got a Gewurztraminer? He said, hey, what? So I called it, hey, what? He was very smart. He said, I don't know what it is. So I said, well, I'm going to buy it. It's actually very nice. It has got some nice acidity to it. It's not too sweet. and I got it for 15 quid.
Wow.
And it's nice.
Sounds excellent. Can I look at the label?
You can indeed.
Bit higher.
Yeah, higher.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. 2017.
2017. Yeah.
2019.
Mm.
Could I add here that whereas Viognier is best drunk young, good Gewurztraminer, and I'll go back to Alsace because that's what I know best. Mine was a 2012 as it happens, but they can keep 25, 30 years, and they are superb when they're old.
Lovely.
If you can find them.
Yeah, and afford them.
Well, yes, and afford them. True, but I mean, they don't tend to be over expensive by nature of being kept. If you find somebody who's found a pocket in one of the Alsace growers and can buy it, I mean, it's worth looking out for, really.
Yeah.
I mean, Gewurztraminer just is not eagerly sought after, happily.
Yeah. Ray, have you got a Gewurz?
No, I haven't, but I have very happy memories of a tasting menu at the Driftwood in South Cornwall. I don't know if anyone knows it. About 10 miles up the road from St. Mawes. And there they did a magnificent mackerel dish and served a Gewurztraminer with it, and it matched superbly. Ilga hated it, but it was, in my view, a match made in heaven. The Gewurztraminer with mackerel.
With mackerel.
Try that.
Wow.
It's got a strong taste.
Well, mackerel's an oily fish, Ray, isn't it? Really?
Yes, it is.
I suppose the strong pungency, the aromas of
it cut against it, and it sort of, they both complemented somehow for me anyway. But Ilga took a totally different view.
Didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
Couldn't
David
drink it.
Harold, your Gewurz.
Yes, certainly. Actually, I was very interested in what Martin was saying. This is, in fact, again, it's the because I didn't feel I knew a great deal about it. It's the Wine Society's exhibition, Gewurztraminer. Can you see? It is from Alsace. It's 2016. You know, it's obviously had 4 years. It is very, very, very. It's got a lot of herbal nature to it. It's surprisingly sweet in a way, and we love to have Gewurztraminer with liver and possibly with spicy Asian food, sweet curries and this sort of thing. And it's a real pleasure just to drink. I mean, it's really nice. And I guess Martin would tell me, will that keep for a lot longer, Martin?
It certainly will. Well, I don't. I mean, the Wine Society. I don't know the grower, but the Wine Society would always have good growers. Name the name again.
Well, I'm just trying to pick it out. Actually, sorry, Martin. There's an awful lot of.
No, don't
it's
worry,
made in the village of Rockaville. Is that right? That means yes.
Rochefort. Well, I mean, it will keep, but most of us don't.
And the price, I'm just having to check, it was £16.
Yes.
But, there it is.
I should have said mine, which comes from Davies. Well, it's 2012. I've had it for a few years now, but it probably would cost something like 18, 20 quid, I suppose.
Yeah.
Can I say, Martin, when I first met you, you were with Mayor Sorda, and it must have been nearly 50 years ago. You could perhaps correct me. And I was buying some sweet wine. Can you remember those days?
I joined Mayor Sorda in 1962.
Yeah.
And I left Mayor Sorda, albeit under an umbrella at that time, in 1999. It's a long time. And then when we sold to Davies, the name went, but it couldn't be sustained. So, you know, things move on, don't they?
They certainly do. That's right.
Absolutely. You and I drank Gewurztraminer together in the 70s.
We did. We did. When you lured me, you very, very generously invited me, suggested I might join the livery, I think.
So is that how you got your membership, Philip? You should entice them with wine tastings.
I've been a member for longer than that.
Right, who else has got a Gewurztraminer they want to talk about?
We have.
Right, David?
So this is an Alsace Gewürz, which we bought from the same farm shop wine store in Faversham. We paid £15 for it. It's made by Turkheim in Alsace. It's a 2018. It says it's a reserve. To be honest, Gewürz is one of Mandy's favourite wines. But this is probably a little sweet for our liking, but that could have been because we tried the Viognier first of all and then the Gewürz straight afterwards. But normally we would drink a Gewürz with any kind of, as someone has already mentioned, Asian food or any kind of spice, very strong food. It goes so well with it. No, we feel that this one's a bit sweet, but we do love Gewürz. But to be honest, we have tried some New World Gewürz, but we still go back to Alsace, which is our favourite.
As I say there, the Gewürz naturally lacks acidity, which is why it needs to be grown in the northern climate, really. So that it can be a little bit sweet if the acidity is not there to sharpen it.
And the next person?
We actually got the same one from Turkheim, from Sainsbury's, 2019, from the same, from the Alliance Alsace from Turkheim, 13.5%, and it was on offer from £9 to £8.50.
Oh, wow.
Like you just said, we did find it a bit sweet as well. I don't know, not sort of thing we normally drink. We're not, it says on the bottle, very good with Thai curries. And I have to say that Thai food is not a favourite of either of ours. So we'd pass on that because we don't really have a lot of Thai food.
We only bought it because of this evening.
Yeah, we only bought it because of this evening. It's not something that we would normally drink at all. Martin, having a French passport, we've always heavily leaned towards French wines, although he is getting a little bit more now towards Chilean. We were there in Argentina, but this is something that we wouldn't normally have. So it's been good. It's made us try it.
Somebody else, Vincent?
Sorry. I just would like to ask a question while we have the benefit of Martin Everett with us. And Martin, can you, in generic terms, reserva or reserve means what? I mean, is that could you just explain that for us?
There are certain appellations where reserve is specifically defined, another degree of alcohol, lower yields and so on. But I very often reserve is rather like you deluxe in a car. You know,
Right.
it pretty well means whatever the grower wants. It means it's a special cuvée or something. I don't think Alsace Reserve is part of the appellation. You'll get Alsace, then you get Grand Cru, which comes from specific vineyards, and that would have a specific appellation associated with it. But I think it's more to do with somebody picking out their best cuvées and calling it reserve.
Oh, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
It's a term that varies depending on where you are.
Yeah, one's lived with it all my life, but it would, with the benefit of your expertise, it was nice to know exactly what you, how one would define that, really. So thank you very much.
Well, it's a pleasure. I mean, reserve, you probably pay a bit more, but you get a bit more.
No, understand. Great. Thank you very much. Sorry, Paul. Carry on, please.
Vincent, have you got a Gewürz?
I haven't got a Gewürz, but I have got two questions, if I may.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it's a lady joined very late. She's bottom right hand
Vanessa?
screen, and it's pitch black, so I don't know who it is.
It's Vanessa.
Can you switch the light on? It is a lady, is it?
Yeah, it's Vanessa.
Oh.
Get your glasses, Vincent.
He likes to be incognito.
It's just yeah.
It's very quiet too.
There you are. Good evening. Good evening. My second question is for John and Rosemary. What red wines are you drinking and why?
It's a very good question, and certainly you're accurate as far as the plural is concerned, because it's not just a red wine, but we do enjoy a whole range of different wines and rosé wines as well for Rosie, of course. And we find, I find more, perhaps than Rosie does, that the white wines just sort of catch the throat a little bit. Perhaps we have over the years not been listening to Martin there with the advice. But yes, not particularly heavy red wine. We'd have to go into our reserves and get some labels out to answer your question, Vincent. So we'll email you on Sunday. Okay.
Right, who's next? Anne, have you got, what wine have you got? You're on mute, Anne.
Don't think so.
Still on mute.
How's that?
That's it.
Oh, good. Got it right. This is an Alsace wine, 2018. And the description of it is in French, and I can't see it because it's too small. So I can't tell you much about it. I bought it, it's 13.5 volume. And I bought it in Super Value in Killarney, Southern Ireland, for €15.
Wow.
So there you go.
Let's have a look at the label. Can you show us the label?
Yeah. Can you see that?
Oh, Arthur Metz.
Arthur Metz.
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
them.
good.
Must be Alsace, isn't it? Is it?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah, I can get that bit.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So it's all in French, so...
oh, well.
That's a good sign. It's probably why you had to pay for it in euros.
Pretty unreasonable, I think, to everything in French.
No. I think the locals would object to anything else.
Right, William, have you got a Gewurz?
Yes, we have. And again, it's from my wine merchant. It's a Léon Bay from Alsace. £17 a bottle. Oh. And I find actually it is sweet, and I would classify this as a pudding wine. I don't know. Rather more than
yes. Yeah,
it's a main course wine. But it's still delightful. And thank you for introducing us to Gewurztraminer.
Oh, wow. The interesting thing is that
it's a very honourable and good grower and negociant. But actually, talking about sweet wine, there's another layer of Gewurztraminer called Vendange Tardive, late picking, late vintage. And they are very sweet, and they would fully qualify. They're quite expensive, actually. They would fully qualify for being a dessert wine. But Alsace wines are unashamedly tend to be on the sweet side. High sugar level, low acidity. But that's the nature of the beast.
Martin, is that the same thing as an Auslese?
No.
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 Well, it's getting on that way. Yeah, well, it would be selected bunches. Yes, it would be.
Yeah.
One suggestion I would have, with the comments that those are making, finding it a little on the sweet side, is that I hope you've managed, you would normally chill it slightly more because the higher sugar content. And I would suggest, William, to you is that rather than having it as a dessert wine pudding, is possibly have it as an aperitif.
Well, we are.
I rest my case.
I mean, I don't normally have wine with my tea.
You know, we all like sweet things, don't we? And I love dry wines. I love white Burgundy, for example. Not that actually. And I love Sauvignon. and lovely Riesling, which can be spicily dry. But I love sweet wines as well. So I think one's got to relish it on the right occasion and the right mood, sitting, as I say, with a curtain drawn with a few little nibbles, and absolutely gorgeous, I hope.
It's fantastic, and it wasn't a derogatory mark at all. It's delightful.
Barbara? Oh, sorry, Martin.
No, Barbara first.
Barbara.
This one from Majestic again. It's a Waimea from Nelson in New Zealand. It was $15.99 down to $11.99. It's extremely sweet, bearing out, as Martin said, with it being warm in New Zealand. It isn't really to my taste. I'd rather have my Gewurztraminer as a terrine a little bit sharper. So, but it's certainly drinkable.
Which vineyard is it, Barbara?
Nelson, New Zealand.
Yeah, which
the Waimea Estate.
Waimea Estate. Yeah.
So that's
yeah, lovely.
All right. Martin?
Yes, this is a classic me. It's total ignorance. But this is a French wine. But why is its name Gewurztraminer?
Well, I can tell you. Because Alsace became part of Germany in 1870 after Franco-Prussian Wars, and it went right on until the end of the Second World War, the end of the First World War, and then became German again in the Second World War. So the grape varieties have Germanic names, and that's why the bottle is of a Germanic shape. Because the Germans didn't want competition from
that's interesting.
So the French didn't want to rename it because the association of French and German during the war and prior to the war, surprised they left the name.
Well, they did. I think it's an honor. It's very, very interesting. I mean, I know families where sons would fight on different sides of one son for the Germans, some for the French. I mean, it's a very, very interesting history, really. Quite a sad history to some extent.
Martin, I'm absolutely enthralled by it. I'm sorry to everybody else for butting in here, but when you say a bottle is Germanic shape, I mean, please, could you elaborate on that? Because I've no idea what that means. I mean, I'm hoping, I think I know what it means.
German wines tend, not always these days, because the Germans are very busy trying to make the wines look like it as if they came from Australia and everywhere else. Traditionally, German wines were fluted.
Right.
Like this. They have the sort of fluted shape. So they wanted the Alsace wines to look like as if they came from from Germany, which then, after all, Alsace was part of Germany from 1870 onwards. So they didn't want competition over.
Oh, marvelous! Thank you very much. Brilliant.
Right. Have we missed anybody on the Gewurztraminer?
Yeah, we've got one here.
Yes, come on, Linda.
This one came from Morrison's. It's Alsace 2019 of France. I find it very sweet for me, but it's quite a nice drink to sort of drink probably. But yes, that's as much as I really know about it, to be honest. It's the first time I've ever tried it.
And how much was it?
£7.
Was that on offer or at regular price?
It was reduced from £9 to £7, so not too bad a price, really.
All these reductions.
Martin, can I ask a question? Oh, sorry. Carry on, Martin.
In Alsace, there's as in almost all the French wine growing regions, there's a very strong cooperative system, and that a lot of the supermarkets buy their wines from the cooperatives. They have names which you'll find underneath. It'll say from whatever it is, and they tend to be big volume, lower price, which is perfect. I mean,
I don't know whether this is, it says appellation controller. Does that?
Appellation contrôlée just means it's appellation contrôlée. It's got a controlled production.
One of them, yeah.
Martin, if I may, we've heard quite a lot about the wines which are sold as reduced from price. Is this, in your experience, a genuine £2 or £4 reduction on the price of a bottle, or is it actually really inflated in order to be reduced?
Well, I've never sold to supermarkets, and I don't really understand how that system works, but I had friends who did, now all retired, of course. Well, I mean, I think the supermarkets are, on behalf of their customers, very brutal, actually. So they'll drive your price right down, and then they'll leave it on the shelves for a certain price, and then they'll say, well, we want this price off. And it's a genuine, no, I think the price reductions are genuine, but it's at the expense of the poor old producer or the merchant rather than anybody else.
Because we've heard
enormous power. Enormous.
We've heard quite a lot from people this evening about price reduced from to. And it sounded to be a very common theme. And I wondered how artificial that might be.
No, I think it's genuine. You might think, oh, well, they've got surplus stock. Never. They'll just send it back to the supplier.
Oh.
And if you don't take it back, it's stuff. Put it through.
Usually, it should have been on offer for 6 months previously at the price before it can be counted as a genuine discount.
Yes, I think it is, but that you can get around that by still price, and then So I mean,
they can actually have it discounted in somewhere a completely different part of the country, as long as it's discounted in a store. Yes. It could be the other end of the country to where you live. They just have to have that sort of proviso.
If I used to sell furniture at full price in Exeter branch, because it's the only one around that they charged the full price in Exeter, and every other store in the whole of the UK sold it half price. Because it wasn't half price, it was just inflated for the Exeter store to comply with the rules.
I mean, Tesco's run this, and Sainsbury's do the same. It's buy 6 bottles and you get 25% discount. And I think Tesco's are doing this promotion at the moment. It's sort of, they're getting ready for the run up to Christmas, but the last couple of weeks before Christmas, there won't be any discounts.
No.
So it's buy now and enjoy while you've got the opportunity.
Majestics is the same thing, a discount price if you buy 6 mixed bottles.
That's it.
But isn't it also the case that France is just awash with wine, and presumably other parts of the world as well? So, there must be a huge demand-supply issue here.
Absolutely.
But Martin, what do you think in terms of English wine? I mean, they seem to be commanding huge premiums in price. Is it warranted, do you think?
Well, that's a very delicate question, really. I mean, I think to sit here and talk about English wines as being mainstream, is fantastic, because 25, 30 years ago, or even 15 years ago, you just wouldn't have believed it, actually. And the quality of the wines has got considerably better, more expertise, more mature vines, much more understanding, and of course this famous climate change.
That's the climate, yeah.
But I mean, production costs are relatively high. The volume sales are not fantastic. So in other words, and of course every so often you get a lousy vintage, because our climate is, even with climate change, is capricious, shall we say. So you have to make up in the years that are good for the ones that let you down. So the rapport qualité-prix, the price-quality ratio of English wines, is sometimes a bit questionable, I think, but they have freshness, delicacy, elegance. If you like them, okay, I think English champagne is really quite expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
They would argue that it's as good as French champagne, Bollinger and whatever it might be. But
I quite like it.
You have to make your own mind up about that.
I think it's very much a personal taste, all the way across the line.
I've a friend's wedding had English wine, and it was actually very enjoyable. And they got, like we were saying, discounting. I think they did it with Lidl, and they literally went in every week and got their 6 bottles every week, and built it up over time. So they had it in way in advance, so they could get the quantity. But it was I found it quite delicate.
But with only 30 people in the wedding, I guess it's not too bad.
It's only 15 if you're tier 1. Tier 2.
This was a few years ago.
Right, so I'm going to ask everybody a number of questions. I'd like you to reply by a show of hands. Firstly, who had not drunk Viognier before?
We have no.
And having not drunk it before, how many people would drink it again?
Having not drunk it before.
So that sounds interesting. How many had not drunk Gewurztraminer before?
I don't know, I have.
And would you try it again?
As an aperitif, I think would be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Might go
with the
dessert. Foie gras. You can't talk about foie gras.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, before we just do last questions, I would like to think that the conclusion, Martin, between us, we've actually achieved what we wanted to do. Oh, good evening, Mrs. Ems.
Good evening, everybody.
Nice to see you. I hope you're going to imbibe soon and catch up.
No, not today.
Oh, no, you can't. All right, fine.
No, not today.
But I think, hopefully, this idea of tasting a grape varietal has given you an insight of perhaps having a little more adventure.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful.
Are you keen to do another 2 grapes on another occasion?
Absolutely.
We'll probably do one towards the end of November, so we don't do them too frequently and get you all drinking too much.
What else is there to do, Paul, in this dreadful weather? And
Well,
don't forget, we're actually in tier 2 down in Essex.
Yeah, we're on high where we are.
Oh, so we're Billy No Mates. You know, we can't go out with anybody unless you want to sit outside.
Yeah.
It's a bit chilly now.
My chimney is being used quite a lot.
Have one of those.
All right. Anybody got a last question before we call it an evening? Philip?
Yeah. Can I be permitted to tell a story? Certainly, Martin Everett was present. The first time we served at a livery dinner a wine that wasn't French, it was Spanish, and a very good one. And before the meal started, there was a most tremendous row going around the hall, complaining of it wasn't a French red wine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we carried on, we poured it all out, and I went round the room after dinner to look at the glasses. There wasn't any left in any glass. All I can say is the glass sellers have changed. But it was a very, very funny reaction.
Yeah, the proof in the drinking.
Were very, very cross.
Yes, I have to say, I have a friend who runs the catering at St John's College in Cambridge, and he's travelled the world because before he went to St John's, he was actually on shipping lines and responsible for supplying. And twice a year, he does a dinner for the Dons to taste wines for the coming year for their dinners. And in the Don's dining room, he cannot get away with serving anything but French for the main course. But on the tasting, he does anything from Japanese, Australian, around the world. And they sit there quaffing at their teeth and saying, and he says, look, we have international students. We have to represent all the students that we have coming to the college.
Yes.
And I agree with Philip. I don't know how many years ago was that, Philip? Can you remember?
Oh, goes back a bit, doesn't it?
Probably nearly 40 years ago.
Yeah. It was Bill Basil Evans, wasn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Good Lord, there's some memories for you. I mean, I hold with the Précy that there's no bad wine unless it's off. And some of it happens to be more drinkable than others. But I think with the way the world has evolved in its wine production, it's a continuous adventure to open a new bottle and discover what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I just ask a quick question of Martin. Martin, have you tried any Romanian Gewurztraminers? I see they produce quite a lot.
I haven't, Bill. I have tasted quite a number of Romanian wines.
Yes.
But I can't remember tasting a Gewurztraminer. I mean, I've been to the Romanian embassy when they asked sort of the wine trade round for their wine tastings. I don't remember. If I have, I don't remember it, I'm ashamed to say. Are they worth really giving a go?
Well, I don't know. I was just, I haven't tried one. You know, I lived in Romania for years.
Yeah.
I idly looked in the interval at the website and discovered that they are producing quite a lot.
Yeah.
Might be interesting. But again, it's a fairly hot climate, isn't it? So they'll be rather sweet.
I remember Romanian Pinot Noir as being rather good, actually.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same, Martin.
Yeah.
I think Waitrose had it at one time.
They have it now, and they got it reduced now.
The Romanian Pinot Noir was very nice.
It's quite light and rather drinkable.
Yes.
Well, one for the list.
Anybody else want to ask?
May I tell a true story? A very, very special night out for Joe and myself. We went to Café Rouge in Loughton. On the wine list, on the wine list, they don't put the year of the wine. So I asked the waitress, particular wine, what year is it? And she said, I'll go and find out. And she came back and said, it's 1937. So I said, I don't think that's quite right. Are you sure? And she walked off in high dudgeon and said, I'll go and get the bottle. And she came back with the bottle, and it was 1937, but that was the year the winery had been established.
I'm very sorry, but you were in Essex, and it does live up to the reputation of being an Essex girl.
Paul, may I get a word in edgeways? I mean, I was certainly not born quite as long ago as that, but being one of the senior members age-wise, I just wanted to say that I have always enjoyed wines. The preference, unfortunately for me, has always been from France. And it's interesting that not a lot of the wines that we were talking about today came from France all the way around the world. And it's a delight, actually, as being a pure drinker. I don't mean to give you the wrong impression, but my wife and I will drink at least a bottle of wine every night, which is probably terribly bad for us. But I wanted to drink the health of Martin Everett, Master of Wine. Thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you very much, Martin.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Yes, most
Thank you very much, Martin.
It looks as if he's drunk himself to a standstill.
Oh, he's gone.
The screen is frozen. Well, I'm obviously talking to a brick wall there. So.
Yes, Martin's gone very quiet. I think he's.
Oh,
yes, he's gone.
He's buggered off.
Moved around a little bit.
Yeah. But Paul, may I say thank you very much indeed for arranging this evening. Great fun, jolly good idea.
Yes.
Very good.
Very informative.
And I've been longing. Oh, look, there are people who've finished both their bottles now. But I've been longing to have another drink to the health of the Glass Cellars Company. Root and branch may it live. And thank you all for attending this evening.
Glass Cellars.
And a safe drive.
And good health to the Masters.
Glass Cellars.
Glass Cellars. Do another taste. towards the end of November, then of course, with the mitigating circumstances, we would have all been together last night at the Mansion House.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, was not possible.
Oh.
But you will be receiving something in the post from the master in the next week or so, which will be a nice surprise.
Is that an invoice?
Yes.
What a brilliant idea. Yes, of course it will be.
And I'll also like to say that some of you may or may not realise, but thanks to your support, I've been your clerk 2 years this weekend.
Oh, jolly good. Congratulations.
Martin, you are still
He's muted.
Dim-dummed. Martin, can you hear us?
Yes, he can.
Yes, I'm sorry. My screen went dead for a minute.
Did you hear the few kind words I was saying about you before?
I didn't, but that's very sweet. Thank you.
No, I was saying thank you very much, Martin, and you've done us a sterling job. I hope that you will not repeat the same wines, but on other wines on a future occasion.
Yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting.
Yes.
It's lovely to hear from an expert
Very informative.
wine.
Yeah. It's a lovely evening, hasn't it?
It's been lovely.
Well done, Martin.
Yes.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Martin. Here, here.
Thank you, Martin.
Thank you, Martin.
Getting it all going.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So, one last cheers to everybody. Have a lovely weekend.
Yes, and you.
Enjoy.
Everyone.
Organising it.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Time.
Yeah.